Hey guys, Joe Waxman here, and in this video I want to look at the chart of Carroll Shelby, the famous auto designer and racer. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already. I watched the movie Ford vs. Ferrari last night. Oh, sorry, I wanted to share Wikipedia first. And so, might as well look up Carroll Shelby, see if I can do his chart. I can't find a good birth time on everyone, so I'm not able to do everyone. So if somebody makes a request, and I don't do it, it's probably because I can't find their birth time. But found Carroll Shelby's birth time. So he was an automotive designer, racing driver, and entrepreneur. He's best known for his involvement with the AC Cobra and Mustang for Ford Motor Company, which he modified during the late 60s and early 2000s. He established Shelby American in 1962 to manufacture and market performance vehicles. His autobiography, Carroll Shelby's Story, was published in 1967. As a race car driver, his highlight was co-driving on the winning 1959 24-hour Le Mans entry. All right. Let's just briefly run through his life. His father was a mail carrier, born in Texas. He suffered heart problems from an early age. He was fascinated with speed, cars, airplanes. Let's see. He liked raising chickens. He made a living raising chickens. Racing. So he honed his driving skills with his Willys automobile. Got no idea what that is. In high school, he enrolled in Georgia Institute of Technology in aeronautical engineering. He enlisted in the Army and began pilot training. He graduated with the rank of Staff Sergeant Pilot. Commissioned second lieutenant after going air students training, later serving flight instructor. And then he flew different planes, in a dump truck business, worked as an oil well roughneck, then as a poultry farmer before going bankrupt. He started driving professionally at age 29, starting out as an amateur. Let's see. I guess he started winning races. Shelby won 4 races, and then he just kept racing and winning. So instead of going through all the different races, we'll just say that he kept racing, kept winning, kept being hired to be a race car driver, drove many different cars, and just became better and better and became like a really professional racer. Sports Illustrated Magazine's Driver of the Year in 1956 and 1957. He set records, became, a really professional, excellent race car driver. Right, won all these different awards. The highlight of his career was winning the 24-hour Le Mans race, which is, I think it's like a team race, so it's not just like him driving for 24 hours, but still, it is one of the most respected and difficult races to win. According to Shelby, winning the 24 hours was probably the greatest thrill I ever got out of racing. I can think of plenty of other races that carry that quota or thrills for the winner. But when you win this one, it kind of gives you license to go out and tell people you're good. And that often helps get some other deals together. Okay. All right. So he, made history with racing. And then he realized America was missing a big bet, a winning bet, the design and production of an all-purpose, all-American sports or grand touring car that you could drive to market and race during the weekend. So he started designing cars and race cars with a 300 brake horsepower V8 in an Austin Healey type chassis that was very lightweight. Always does that. Oh, sorry. After retirement, so he retired from racing in 1960 for health issues. He opened a high performance driving school. And then he built the Shelby AC Cobra, which later became the Ford Cobra. So somehow that happened. Ford agreed to provide the engine. Okay, I'm just going to skip over the details. And he made an awesome car, 427 Cobra prototype. Like, this is a classic in the car world. You know, they build copies of them these days, but it's a classic. So he teamed up with Ford, and they made the Shelby Coupe and Cobra, and it was good. Then he worked on the GT40, Ford GT40, and that's the one featured in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, where Ferrari had won the 24-hour Le Mans, basically, I don't know, for many years, and Ford wanted to win. So they built a sports car for that, and Shelby helped design that and bring it to perfection. Shelby made changes to running gear, transmission, reliability, and designed their GT40 Mark II variant around Ford's 7-liter 427 cubic inch engine. So, and then it won the car won first, second, and third at Le Mans. And so, yeah, with Ken Miles was the driver. So that was a huge success. They beat Ferrari. He had a partnership with Ford. We built Mustang-based Shelby GT350, Shelby GT500. So Shelby designed a lot of cars along with Ford. I think it was a partnership. He didn't do everything, but then he also partnered with Dodge and designed a lot of cars, or helped in part design cars with Dodge. So, some of them he had a lot of influence, some he had a little, but a lot of them bore his moniker Shelby, which at that point became a brand of its own and was highly respected and sought after, right? If you can, between a Shelby Mustang Cobra and Mustang Cobra, you want the Shelby. That's going to be a lot more money just by, just for the name alone. So he worked with Dodge and had his influence on all these different cars to different extents. And cars. He just kept, designing and influencing different cars. Not going to go into the details there. In 2004, new Ford Shelby Cobra concept, but they didn't produce it, but it was, concept cars, project cars, whatnot. Let's see, non-Ford project. He had his hand in other cars and things of that nature. Shelby licensed his name to many products outside of the automotive industry currently. Let's see. So Carroll Shelby's name is associated with a chili fixings kit. Really, that's weird. The kit consists of several spices and okay, who cares? I know that there are many kit cars that bear Shelby's name. I think the most popular one is the old school Shelby Cobra, the AC Cobra. Originally, the one that's pictured up here. This is a kit car often because the original ones were very limited. They had very limited production. You can buy them as kit cars. Let's see. He was married 7 times. When his wife died in a car accident, he had a heart transplant and a kidney transplant, and he died at age 89, and he had serious heart ailments for decades. So that's pretty much it. Hugely influential in the car industry, Shelby. All right. Let's look at his astrology. Okay. Capricorn Sun in the 5th house. So 5th house obviously is great for anything that involves fun, games, sports, entertainment, performance. It's perfectly trine by 1 degree the ascendant and the North Node. So it's really great for being recognized for fun and games. And Capricorn obviously is going to be very serious, very hardworking, worldly, and achievement oriented. So he's going to work hard at fun and games. Not only that, but the sun is square Saturn. Saturn is exalted in Libra, but Saturn rules Capricorn. So this is an interesting one because on the one hand, having an aspect from Saturn, especially a Saturn in good dignity, is going to be very good for the sun in Capricorn because it's being received by Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of this house. So, but the square definitely brings in a lot of tension and brings in hard work, right? So he's not, I mean, this is like a much more serious kind of 5th house. I mean, you could consider it like sports, yeah, right? Racing and whatnot. But also design, 5th house, creativity, whatnot. But you know, the Saturnian influence is going to make it much more serious, hardworking, and then the square as well. And Saturnian, like authoritative, like dealing with Saturnian type stuff is, and one of the things that Saturn is associated with is structure, the bones, right? So like he's thinking about the, you know, as far as cars are concerned, not just the power, but also, you know, the overall design, the chassis, the metal that's used for it. You know, that's going to become very important to him. Saturn is a very serious, authoritative, hardworking planet. So that all applies. He's no nonsense when it comes to his fun and games. Let's put it that way. And creativity and design. Yeah, but this is also a difficult aspect. Saturn is ruling the 6th house, so there are definitely health issues. Sun could can relate to the heart, so that's one indication that he has health problems. But otherwise, the sun in the 5th house, trying the ascendant, is in a really good position for general success, education, children, fun games, being you know, seen and heard and noticed. Right, so general success, 5th house is good. Moon is in Scorpio conjunct Jupiter. So Moon in Scorpio is not very good because it's opposite. It's exaltation, means it's debilitated, but Moon and Jupiter together are very good. And it's in Scorpio in the 3rd house. So 3rd house for racing is Yeah, that's appropriate. That's what we'd want to see, because third house is short distance travel, right? We're not talking about cross country stuff. We're not talking about going on long adventures. We're talking about racing short distance. So that's third house. Scorpio will make it very vengeful, right? Very competitive, very dominating. Aries is like going fast and racing and whatnot, but Scorpio is like with a vengeance, doing whatever it does with a vengeance and wanting to dominate, because it's that relationship that Scorpio has with others. Scorpio is about power and control and domination. So he doesn't just want to win races, he wants to dominate his competition with this strong Scorpio influence. And Jupiter here is protecting the worst parts of it, because he might become much more negative, dark, depressed. Still, there's tendency for that in Scorpio, but Jupiter is going to resist that. It's going to elevate the whole darkness of Scorpio, but still there can be depression here. Let's see. I forgot to say, Sun is ruling the 12th house here, so that's even more creative. For his design influence, there's a lot of creativity. Obviously not. I don't know how much so it influences racing. 12th house doesn't feel like, unless there's like a strong intuitive component, perhaps he's bringing in a lot of intuition into his racing, and that helps him. But also for creativity, as far as his ability to design cars and have creative solutions, 12th and 5th house is very strong, as well as Sun. But this is very, very like there's like a need for domination and competition in racing, third house. And he's bringing in the 11th house, because Moon's ruling the 11th house. So a team effort, group efforts, that sort of thing, and career success going into racing, like racing teams, racing groups, racing networks. That's all coming in there. He's pulling in the groups and networks, obviously. Jupiter is 4th house and 7th house. So 4th house from an early age, early childhood, going into fast things, racing, whatnot. Obviously third house can be other things, but for him, it's dispositors Mars and South Node in the 7th. It's involving others, and so it's, for whatever reason, it's translating into racing. Maybe because 4th lord's in the third house. 4th lord not only represents early childhood and home, it also represents cars, because it's sort of like in the 4th house we have the brick and mortar home and buildings, in the same way that cars are often linked up with the 4th house. So that could be another reason why. But Jupiter and Moon together is a really great combination. Not so much in Scorpio, but in general. This is a very intense Moon-Jupiter combination. And it is square a Neptune in Leo. So Neptune in Leo is very, not only creative, highly creative, Neptune in Leo. It is expanding the ego and bringing the ego into imagination. So Neptune in Leo is definitely going to indicate somebody who has very highfalutin ideas about themselves, because Leo is all about the ego, the pride. So they're going to imagine themselves winning. They're going to imagine themselves winning the Le Mans, winning all the races. They're going to see a race and they're going to be like, I can do that. Especially depends on the aspect here, but it's moving into the 12th house, so making it even more creative, but also very, his imagination is very sort of egotistical. That's good and bad, because you need to be able to have some faith, and that's squaring the moon particularly, but also Jupiter. So there's going to be some, this is going to bring out definitely a more negative quality of Neptune. Maybe he's unrealistic. Maybe he's delusional about what he can do and what he can't do. But it probably helps him, because, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going up against the, Ferrari, you gotta have faith in yourself. You gotta believe that you can win. And he's just, he might just be, cocky enough to be the one who says, yeah, let's go and beat Ferrari. Let's go and beat the champions. Let's go beat the kings of racing, because we can do it. I can do it. We can do it. Right? He is pulling in the wheel with the moon here. So yeah, let's go beat Ferrari with this high, imagination that could be delusional, but it worked out for him. And maybe it's delusional at other times, but it seems to work for him mostly, I would say. And Scorpio, of course, like I said, Scorpio is all about power, control, domination. Leo's the ego, the pride, right? So together, they're just like, let's beat them. Right. So I think that's overall, what's happening here. Let's see. Virgo ascendant with the nodes. I've been seeing a lot of these lately. This one is North Node conjunct the ascendant. And with South Node conjunct the descendant, he married 7 times. So that, with Mars here, that's appropriate. He also had many affairs. Mars in the 7th is aggressive, right? And so early life, also, we can say that, it's dominated by Mars and Jupiter. So 3rd house and Mars, right? So that's, and they're trine, widely trine, but still. All right, so that's a very strong connection here. Mars being the aggressor, especially in 7th house, wanting to win, wanting to control, wanting to dominate. Mars is racing. Neptune, I wouldn't consider so much racing, but I think this connection really brings in the racing element, because Mars ruling the 3rd house, and this is a mutual reception, by the way. Jupiter and Mars sign, Mars and Jupiter sign. So they're connecting here very strongly, Mars and Jupiter, and that's elevating both of these. Jupiter is benefiting, Mars is benefiting from this exchange, and South Node conjunct Mars makes him, like I said, all about racing, all about competitiveness with others, especially as a youngin. Bring in the Uranian influence. Uranus is lightning fast. It's not even to say Uranus is fast is to not quite characterize it accurately. Uranus is no time. Uranus is, let's already get it done. Let's be finished this second, right? So it's, oh, that's Uranus. It's just waste not even 1 second. It's just now. That's kind of the Uranian impulse. So for racing, Mars and Uranus, it's explosive as can be. I mean, like you probably see this in martial arts too, for somebody who's just like a master of speed. Mars and Uranus together, right? They're not very close, but still the influence is there, right? This is somebody who's just like, oh, let's do it. Let's get to the finish line right this second. Right? So, and there's a nice trine here, powerful trine with Pluto in the 10th quadrant, right? So Pluto is going to add the very like powerful element to the now of Uranus. It's like, now and let's control and defeat and win and dominate everyone. Mercury is in Aquarius and that's Mercury is the ascendant lord. It's also the MC lord. So Mercury is a very strong planet, prominent planet for Carroll Shelby. It's in the 5th quadrant, but moving into the 6th whole sign house. Yeah, I mean, Sun, because Sun is conjunct the fifth cusp. So this is bringing fifth and sixth elements. So again, fifth house, fun games, all that, performance, creativity. And sixth house is even more competitive, right? Sixth house really loves to compete and to fight and to win. It has a strong in conjunction with Pluto. And this as well is going to contribute to poor health because Pluto represents death, right? And when you have a bad aspect from Pluto, can indicate early death, especially to the ascendant lord or sixth house lord. But I think because Mars is ruling the eighth house, eighth and the seventh, and Mars, it has a mutual reception with Jupiter. Mars is protected, right? So the eighth lord, which would look to for death, often it's being protected by Jupiter. Jupiter is keeping him alive, but not keeping him healthy, obviously. So, and he also had several accidents, car accidents, and so he's accidental, obviously. And then Uranus in the sixth quadrant is going to contribute to his accidents. Mars in conjunct Pluto is going to make him more accidental. Sorry, Mercury. Mercury in Aquarius is going to be quite brilliant, quite inventive. Sort of like the creative genius, the inventor, the mad scientist, that sort of thing. It's going to be, very progressive. Aquarius loves to invent the new thing, whatever that thing is, as does Uranus, its co-ruler. So his mind is going into technology, into advancing technology in his field, obviously, and he's very, very serious about it with the in conjunct to Pluto. Pluto is going to bring in that deadly seriousness. Like Saturn is often considered serious, but Pluto is like deadly serious. It's like the will that drives a person to the nth degree, because Pluto and Mars are very willful planets, desirous, willful, power, control, that sort of thing, right? And so he's very, very serious about winning and competition and all that, and he's going to be very inventive with his car designs and all of that, his ability to produce, excellent machines and probably for his racing too. Like he developed perhaps some very innovative racing techniques. I don't know, but with Mercury in Aquarius being his ascendant lord, MC lord in the fifth and sixth house, so sports and competition. He's probably has he was a driving teacher, a driving instructor, right? So he's learned a lot, and he's probably has like his own really unique methodologies to winning races with the Mercury and Aquarius that are very unique. Saturn is in the second, and so yeah, as far as like teaching goes, that's you can see the second house for that. I mean, not only the second house for teaching, but definitely because speaking, right, and knowledge. So Saturn in the second is going to produce a wealth of knowledge, like over time, especially, and experience. Saturn is in good condition here. So as far as being an instructor, a trainer, a teacher, and very, very knowledgeable, especially over a long time, that's indicated here. Because knowledge is the mental resources. So second house being resources, mental resources, very strong. And it is ruling fifth and sixth house. So the sports, so the dispositor of his sun and Mercury. Sports, racing, that sort of thing. He can be an instructor, teacher. I mean, Saturn can be a teacher, but Saturn is more like a leader. So like, business leader, instructor, teacher, all of it. Authority, right? The boss. especially with Sun in Capricorn. He's the boss, and he gains a lot of authority, a lot of respect. Saturn's a good dignity, so people naturally respect him, naturally respect anything he has to say, right? He just has this air, he will, because Saturn is a good dignity about him, that if he says something, people will listen, right? And people will respect it. Yeah, because Saturn has that quality. A good a well aspected and good dignity Saturn. The square to the Sun is going to create tension. He's going to have issues with authority, with government. That's going to happen. But overall, still very strong. Venus is in the third quadrant, fourth whole sign house, and Venus is ruling the ninth and the second. So, third house is not only about short distance travel, which includes racing, but it's also about skills. So this is enhancing his skills Venus here as well. And what else? Venus in the fourth, if we're looking at fourth house influence, it's going to indicate that there's a love for, chickens, right? You could look at that. We can see that because that's fourth house, farming, that sort of thing, but also brick and mortar, owning his own shop, owning his own production company or whatever it was, design company, Shelby International with a headquarters and brick and mortar and all that. Venus is luxury. Venus is very often material success and gain, right? So third, fourth house issues, things are going to be, so design, because Venus is aesthetics, and third house brings in skills and talents. So there's going to be strong design, especially as that relates to cars and automobiles, right? Fourth house also brings in the element of cars. So yeah, there's that. There's issues with relationships, obviously, with the semi-square to the Sun. Venus is, especially for a man, the woman and relationships and love interests. So there's going to be a lot of conflict, and we already saw that with the 7 marriages and several affairs and whatnot. And that's the South Node, Mars. And then as he gets older, he's moving into the first house with the North Node. And North Node in the first house is, first of all, when they're young, nodal axis on the ascendant descendant can be quite destructive, right? So imagine as a race car driver, he was pretty extreme because the South Node South Node on the descendant tends to do that on either side. But as he gets older, he gets more independent and iconic. Whenever the ascendant is strongly aspected in a positive way, in a strong way, it makes somebody iconic. And so that's why you have the Shelby moniker on all these things that will fetch, I don't know, a lot more money. Anything with Shelby on it will just be worth a lot more money as far as like cars, or even like chili kits or whatever. It's ridiculous. That doesn't have anything to do with it, but just put Shelby on there. It's going to make it a lot more valuable. And so North Node conjunct the ascendant. North Node is going to expand and really make the ascendant his image. Carroll Shelby, big man, right? It's going to expand all that. Yeah. Ascendant in Virgo is going to be excellent at design and perfectionism. It needs to be perfect because that's the Virgo sort of personality: clean, perfect, organized, sharp, detail oriented. Virgo is not the most creative, but what it does with creativity is unparalleled, right? Virgo is exactly what you want for the other side of creativity. You need the creative element, then you get Virgo into to polish it, refine it, organize it, rearrange it, and make it to its utmost perfection. That's Virgo's specialty, right? The organization, the management, the refinement, the cleaning and perfecting. Virgo will perfect it. Perfect, right? That's Virgo. Perfect, right? Nothing out of place. It's got to be, top notch for Virgo. Otherwise, Virgo will be unhappy and pick it apart. Virgo is sort of like death by 1,000 cuts. That's Virgo's criticism. Virgo will just pick the crap out of it and find every little flaw. And, that's why people can have a hard time with Virgo. That's why Virgo can make enemies, because Virgo can just pick apart anything with criticism, just like down to the shut the heck up, stop criticizing, you're driving me nuts, like get the hell out of here, you're so annoying, shut up with your criticisms, endless criticism, right? That's the annoying part of Virgo. If you can apply those criticisms practically, then it's like for perfecting anything, you want a Virgo. Right? There's a quintile here with Pluto. And quintiles are meant to be very creative aspects. Quintile indicating 5, so it's a 5th aspect. 5 does not divide evenly into 12, so that's why it's an unusual, it's an unusual aspect, but it is creative, generally speaking. And Pluto obviously is a very deeply willful, passionate, desirous, and insightful planet. So, I mean, this is an interesting combination, and I think it probably, drives this perfectionist quality home even more so, and makes him more dynamic and powerful as an individual as well. Pluto is in the 10th quadrant, so really boosting his career, making it very powerful, very Pluto is something like, he's not just a race car driver. He wants to put the biggest and most powerful engine in the car that he can. And actually later they changed the regulations for Le Mans because the engine and the power that the GT40 used was too much, right? And that's Pluto. That's Pluto in combination with Mars or the Ascendant. The Pluto is just like wants to dominate with power. So yeah, that's like literally horsepower. So like Pluto, horsepower, absolutely. Also Mars, for sure. But so he's all about the power. He's all about maximum horsepower with Pluto in the 10th house, and that's kind of his nature. Yeah, there's a square to Chiron. It's not a super strong square, but this is probably pretty difficult and painful. It's in the 7th quadrant, but moving into the 8th house, so affecting relationships, definitely. And relationships will be an issue for him, for sure. What else? I'm not sure. I think I covered all of it, the main stuff, and I don't want it to get too long, but let's look at his draconic, see what else we can learn. Uranus in Virgo, basically conjunct the ascendant, so definitely very independent, very unique, unconditioned, can really think for himself with having this Uranian influence on the ascendant, because Uranus will just balk at sort of the normative, the conditioning, societal's influences. Just like, leave me alone, fuck alone, let me do my thing, right? I don't care what you're doing, I'm doing something different, doing my own thing. Mars in the 1st house, not in good dignity here in Libra, but still, Mars is Mars, and Mars is angular. Mars in the first house is quite strong for like an aggressive type person. So first and seventh. So we're having opposition here. That's kind of interesting. Chiron's conjunct Saturn here in Libra in the second house. Interesting. So he might have, even though Saturn's in good dignity here, it is square the sun. So like, could be financial issues, could be self-worth issues, perhaps, especially when young, he did not feel very worthy, because the second house deals with values, self-values, self-worth, things like that. Also finances. So those could have been issues for him. Pluto and Capricorn conjunct the sun. This is very heavy, very serious, very powerful and dominating. Pluto in Capricorn, where it is now, you could probably just feel that, just by me telling you, this is where we have it now. So heavy, right? Because they're both, Pluto's that depth. Saturn is the structure, the authority, so this is very authoritative in a very dominating, heavy way. So he's really no nonsense. He wants to win. He's all about power and control and domination, and just like beating his enemy with sheer like horsepower and force, and being the boss, and the controller, let's say. Neptune, well, this is not really conjunct anything. It's not doing too much here, I don't think. Well, there is this sesquisquare to Pluto, so probably negatively influencing his health again. Although I don't know if Draconic is going to influence the health, maybe the mental health, perhaps. In any case, seventh house influence here. So, in racing, you're still dealing with others. Sixth house is competition, but seventh house is others. So I still think, like, even though racing is very competitive in sixth house and fifth house, seventh house is going to play into it too, just because of the nature of dealing with others in general. Seventh house is not really so competitive. It's just personal relationships with individuals or masses of people. So that's interesting. Saturn's not doing much here. This is interesting because this is completing the grand Earth trine. This moon, exalted moon, and Jupiter in Taurus. Just the moon's exalted. Jupiter is just neutral in Taurus. It's okay. But what it does do is it completes the grand Earth trine between the ascendant, the sun, and the moon, Draconic moon, and Jupiter. So that's very strong. And a grand Earth trine will be excellent for design elements, and just practical knowledge, practical intellect. You could see this in like like any sort of scientific or mathematical or like design, and just like an engineer, or just like I think who is it? Stephen Hawking had a grand Earth trine, right? So very intellectual, very practical, very grounded, down to earth, kind of, even though not so much for Stephen Hawking, he was thinking about outer space, but still the intellect was very strong with him. So very strong intellect. And then Mercury, which is the ascendant lord and the MC lord, is in Leo, conjunct Neptune. And this also can indicate fame. I forgot to mention Neptune in Leo, because Leo is fame, Neptune is glamour, and the alter ego, and it just kind of produces this magical sort of imagery with Neptune, because that's kind of the nature of Neptune, the imagination, illusion, delusion, fantasy. So like in Leo, it's like the image of Shelby. Ooh, Shelby GT. You know, I'm not mocking it. It's like, but it's that's the sort of Neptunian influence, that the magical sort of illusion, right? And being his ascendant lord is definitely bringing that, making that more stronger influence there. Also bringing out a lot of creativity and imagination again, and the imagination tends to be a bit more egotistical or prideful, like, of course I can win the 24-hour Le Mans, of course I can beat Ferrari, you know, that sort of thing, right? Even if it's not realistic, but I mean, he made it realistic, and maybe that's because of the strong earthy quality he had, the practicality to bring the imagination down to earth, right? Castles in the sky comes to mind when we're talking about Neptune, especially Neptune in Leo. You know, it's good to build castles in the sky, but then, you know, you need to build a foundation for them to become real. So he had both those things. So that's pretty unique with Shelby. Guys, I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to make it too long, but yeah, that's Carroll Shelby, the sort of most famous name in sort of sports car design elements, as far as like fast cars. Like, there's no other name that I can think of that you would want having attached to your car if it's a sports car than Shelby. You know, the Shelby moniker will make it be like, ooh, that's the best. You know, that's the fastest, most, you know, sports car that we could get. That's the most desirable. Having that moniker, especially for American automakers. You know, obviously it's different when we're talking about Ferrari or Porsche or Lamborghini or, you know, all the others. In any case, guys, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below and book a reading with me. My website is macroastrology.com and my email is macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. Thanks. Bye.